people that would be here, because there weren't businesses here, or there wasn't factories here or anything like that, and they would die in the plague.
And of course in some cases they shifted the whole village, didn't they? Matfin village, you can see, which is near us in Northumbria, you can see where the village was with the mines, and they vacated that and built a new village.
Yes, so would that be dated? Because that would probably be dated to the 16th century.
I should have thought
or
so.
17th century.
But
because this has happened more recently actually in Derbyshire, but that's because they've been doing coal workings on the surface, and then they filled them in, and then all the vapours have come through and poisoned the villagers, so they've had to move the whole village, say 2 miles away, which is a similar situation. But Paulinus came up here in about 627 AD, and his main theme, his main vision was to convert King Edwin, that's right, who of course of Edinburgh. He was in Bamborough Castle, that's the seat of authority, and Paulinus went up to him by divine direction, and he told him about Jesus and the cross and why he died, and that we all needed to be forgiven and so on. And this offended Edwin. He didn't like to be told it was a secret. So he said, if you come in my presence again, I'll take your head off your shoulders, or words to that effect. So Paulinus thought I'd get away while it was going good. And he got down as far as the River Trent, because Edwin's area went right down to the Trent in those days, in Nottinghamshire.
I thought it was the Humber that was further.
Well, it went right down. I'll tell you why I know this, simply because Edwin came chasing after Paulinus after he'd headed south. By the way, his conversion was through a miracle. When he went back again, a second time did Paulinus with his head in his hands like sort of thing, and while he was in the presence of Edwin, the curtains moved and out ran a little girl. She'd be about 8 years of age, and she ran and jumped on Edwin's knee, and it was his granddaughter, and she was born deaf and dumb. And Paulinus picked this up after
right.
And so Edwin turned around to Paulinus and said, you've been telling me all about Jesus and his miracles and everything. What about my granddaughter? So he said, he invited the little girl to come and sit on his knee, and Paulinus prayed for her, and she had her ears opened and started to speak words. And this absolutely convinced Edwin then, and he brought his whole family in, and they all knelt down and he prayed for them and so on, and he was with them 2 or 3 days, but he still didn't feel happy and comfortable there. So he went down to on his way back to Kent, because actually he was brought up originally by Ethelberg, who married King Edwin eventually. From Kent, she was the Princess of Kent.
Did she give the land at Hexham Abbey? That princess, one gave the land.
Yes, well, of course, she would be his partner and inherit the whole area, wouldn't she?
You're not on this land for nearly 100 years and not
I'm so lucky to have met you.
Well, they were going through Sherwood Forest. I must tell you this bit, because I come from that area. Edwin was chasing through Sherwood Forest, 1 or 2 soldiers, and he fell off his horse in his excitement to get through. And so in this little hamlet in Sherwood Forest, they came and bound him up and put him straight, put him back on his horse, and he gave his name to the village, and it's called Edwin Stowe to this day. And that was the centre of the Robin Hood.
I was going to say,
amazing. And when they got to the River Trent, what happened was Edwin said to Paulinus, hey, you've not baptised me, you've talked about being baptised, but I want to be baptised. So he was actually baptised in the River Trent.
Oh, right.
And then Edwin said, come back with me, please, please, and preach to my people in Northumbria. So this is the outcome. So in 627, of course, you get this scene here.
That explains what we were talking about with population. Was so great and probably decimated in the plague.
I think, because they had 2 big plagues between the times. So yes, I think that's what happened.
But I know that my ex-husband's cousin was baptised here, and I can't remember.
Now what church was it associated with?
Oh.
Church?
No, because they don't have. No, she's never. I don't know whether there was. It was like a pilgrim kind of that they were. Yeah, of some kind. But I can't remember. I just remember being told because when the first time I came here, he mentioned that. But no, it doesn't.
It's a strange thing that we should meet you here today because the Lord's hands on you.
We are so fortunate.
The Lord's hands on me. I could do with some help, honestly. Couldn't I, Michael? But no. But I do. It does, as I say, it does have a different feel. Yeah. But it's still, I do feel very. It does get you. It gets you
here.
You
have a sensitivity towards spiritual things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So somewhere in your family there is someone who had a spiritual attitude that's come through to you.
Oh right.
It is real.
The Lord.
What time was Edwin?
Edwin was 627 was the baptisms here, so Bamborough Castle would be 600 onwards.
And the Northumbrian king, who was the one after Edwin, do you know?
Was it Oswald?
Oswald, that's right. He was the one who defeated the Welsh heathens at Heavenfelt. You've been to Heavenfelt, the heavenly field.
No, yeah, no.
Just
there's another connection.
I don't know this area.
No, Michael is just.
You ought to go. It's a fascinating place. And the heathen Cadwalla came from Wales.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. He was the problem, wasn't he? And he was linked up with another king.
That's right. And he was defeated.
That's right.
At Heavenfelt.
Oh, it was there where he was defeated.
And they've got a little church there on the spot. Fascinating.
Yes, because he attacked Bamborough Castle, didn't he?
Yes, I think.
And while he was attacking Bamborough Castle, he couldn't get through because it's so stout. So what he did, he took some of the properties and piled them all up on the walls and set fire to them to try and burn his way in, you know. Yeah. And Aidan was on the Isle of
Lindisfarne.
on the island. And he prayed when he saw the smoke going up, and he asked the Lord to change the situation. And suddenly the wind changed.
Which it does happen up there.
Across,
I know that.
Cadwalla's troops and all that, and they were in great trouble, and they called it, packed it up and went away.
It's probably went to Heavenfelt after that, take on the king.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, Michael.
Aren't we lucky?
What a chance meeting.
Oh no, I just thought, because as I say, I love this place, and there's a walk that I do right the way through the wood and back round if I'm on my way to see Dad. But I said I would bring Michael.
Well, we are making
Just a little
DVD of all this. If you like a copy, we'll pop one in.
Oh, right.
It might be a week or so, but more like if you can take.
Have you got a pen? No pen, no.
I've got a pen and a bit of paper somewhere. Yeah. But
where are you staying now?
Michael, have you got any paper
I'm
on
staying
you?
with the pastor
in Alnwick. Here you are.
Alnwick.
Yeah.
At Alnwick. Yeah.
You're not going to Hexham Way?
Well, no, we're going to, from here, where do we go from?
We'll go Woolworth Way.
Wooler Way.
There's another baptismal place.
I was thinking of Heavenfelt, you know, if you could see
yes,
that.
well, I'll keep that in mind, because we come up every year.
Yeah,
so
keep it in
it's
mind.
an ongoing thing with us, is this.
It's on what we call the military road, Wade's Road. You know, a lot of people think it's a Roman road, it isn't.
How far did the Romans come into this area?
All right.
In this area, well, they got to the Roman wall, and then, of course, they went through the wall and built the Antonine Wall from the further forth to the west coast. They built that later.
Do you know of Tichintum? Is it Tichintum? Which was the most northern Roman force in the Roman Empire?
Probably
That was built in AD 80 to 83.
Oh, that's before the Roman wall. Roman wall's 126.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it would be when they were further. I would imagine that's further north.
Definitely further north.
I'll tell you why I find that interesting, because they come from Oxford every year, the trainee archaeologists, and they go to Tinstuttle, and what they do is have a dig.
It's sorry, I'll tell you what it was, because I've been there. Just outside the town.
Is that right? Is that
Because
far
that's where
away?
you got all the nails.
Is that far away from us?
From here, yes, I know.
What away is it?
Well,
yeah,
it's going
yeah.
to
Right,
take
yeah.
2
Don't
hours.
worry.
Do you know,
Don't worry.
during the dig,
Inch Tuttle, yes.
about probably 8 years ago now, they discovered the blacksmith area where the blacksmiths operated. Because you see, all the forts were wooden forts, so they needed nails and joining equipment. And what happened was they found a whole heap of nails,
Just outside.
about 500,000 nails. And they were different sizes, from 6 inches to 20 inches. And when they got into the middle of this heap, they were just as fresh as the day they made them. So I secured some of these. Yes. But the thrilling part about it all was that it was the 10th Roman Legion that was here doing the Tunstuttle, giving them a break because they were usually in the forefront of all the battles. Now it was the 10th Roman Legion that was in Jerusalem when Jesus was crucified. Yeah. And so we sent it to the British Steel Federation to ask them to give us some idea of how they were made, and so we got about 10 A4 sheets with the details on. But I didn't ask for this information, but they gave it to me. They said, oh, by the way, the nails that we used for the sacrifice of Jesus were so long, and they sent me samples of them because it was the same Roman Legion that was there. But I didn't actually ask for the details, so I thought it was so thrilling that they did that.
You see, the legions, they had legions up to build the wall, or supervise it mostly, and slaves, and then once it was killed, once it was finished, the wall, the legions retreated to York and Chester, the 2 big legions, and stayed there, and the Picts broke through the wall in about 160 AD, and the legions had to march up and restore order.
I like pigs.
Yeah.
I have a thing about. I'm not sure if there was. I was just saying to Michael, when we first come into the village, and there's some buildings getting renovated. I'm sure I was told that was a monastery or something,
There's a church there.
Well, there was
a friar.
or a nunnery
there
or
was a nuns
something.
here. There were
Oh,
nuns
the
here.
nuns here, yes.
Yes,
Right. So that was right.
Because there was more information here than what there is now.
Yeah, I'm sure there was
Yes,
more.
that's
I'm
right.
sure.
We'll have
My
to see
best-
It's a
this.
shame. They ought to get down to erecting it again.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure, because I'm sure there was something more. Because is there something that tells you about? Is there anything that tells you that came from Annick? No. Well, you see,
I have got that.
that was definitely here the first time I was here.
That's right.
Because that's how I knew that. That's what.
Well, I've read it somewhere as well.
Oh,
It must
where
have been here.
It's in the book. We've got an ancient book of the area, and it's in there. There's a page on
On
this,
this
isn't
place,
there?
yes,
There's a page on this, and that's why it tells you.
Is there in Hodgson's Book of Northumberland, Michael? Is there
There will be,
anything?
early stone. We'll look it up. We've got a history of Northumberland.
We've got a history.
Have you?
Yeah, he's got all the volumes.
visit you.
Yeah, come.
We were in the priory.
Yes, he's got the whole.
Have you read it?
Yes, he's got the whole.
We've got more. I'm certain it covers this area. Oh, it's
Yeah.
Right, are we
been
going to have
lovely
a
to
one?
meet you.
That's nice to meet you.
very fortunate. Thank you so
Bless
much.
you. Yes, it's been. My name's Peter.
We shared information here, I think.
If you want to, Peter has a site. He's at Queen's Equi, and he does a lot of other interesting stuff.
All right.
So if you go on to SCOTHERN Ministries.com.
All right.
There's
And,
pages there, and I've done films for Sky Television. One's on
Well,
this.
actually, I was going to say, I'm sure I might
It's
have
one of those
seen
days,
it
isn't it?
before. I think I have.
What on Sky? It's to do with the chalice. I won't go into all that. It's to do with the chalice. That was the one that.
Have you ever come across a guy called Simon Cox?
Yeah, the name's got a little bit of familiarity.
something-
Why? You tell me a little bit more.
He was my God. My ex comes into this a lot. Sister's boyfriend for a long time, and Simon's wrote books on the Da Vinci Code and
Oh,
and
yeah.
Wow.
and and Egypt. He's very much into Egyptology.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right. That's what rings a bell. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Small world.
Can we,
Rosalind, the Bible code and so on.
Peter? We went down to Cornwall with a group
Yeah.
October of last year, and we were
Where were you?
blessed